All right, I just want to start with the truth. This is like a 5-second summary. If you don't want to watch the rest of this thing, do it anyways because it's only going to get better. But this book, it's not as bad as some people made it out to be. It's just not. But it's also not as good as some people made it out to be. It's kind of just right in the middle. Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, as most of you most certainly already know if you're watching this video, is the prequel novel to the Hunger Games trilogy. This is, of course, by Suzanne Collins, and we're not following the story of anyone that you would think from the Hunger Games trilogy. Let's get it out of the way. We are following the story of the arch-villain, the nemesis, the overlord of evil, Coriolanus Snow. I mean, just such an interesting thought here. I wonder, I've got to look into it and see if she's talked about it and if this has been a thought of hers from the beginning. Of course, when Hunger Games took off in the popularity that it did, Suzanne, Miss Collins, she probably was like, I need to go into this world again at some point. If for not creative reasons, then for the money, right? But for most of us as fans, we were like, you know what? You could have gone and told us a little bit more after the story. Tell us more about Peeta, or tell us more about Gale, or tell us more about literally anyone else other than this guy. I even thought, like, if you want to go into like prequel territory, Haymitch would be the prime candidate for that. Tell us a little bit about his Hunger Games. But no, we went again to Coriolanus Snow, which worst name, Coriolanus, right? Snow kind of works with it. In this book, unfortunately, they stick with Coriolanus. Some of those close friends of his call him Corio, but they don't even call him Snow. So we get the whole time we're dealing with the word Coriolanus. Coriolanus, anus, Okay, so I'll give you a little bit of the plot. However, I can't go deep into it without giving any spoilers. So we'll simply say this. Young 18-year-old Coriolanus Snow in the capital, he is slated to be the mentor of one of the tributes of the 10th Hunger Games. And so it's kind of like Haymitch was to Katniss and to Peeta, except Snow hadn't been in a Hunger Game before. He was just a capital student, and a part of their program, a few of them are selected to be the trainers, the directors, the mentors of those that are going into the Hunger Games. So really what this story is yes, the story of the 10th Hunger Games, which that's fun, but it is the relationship between Snow and his tribute. It's honestly not much more than that. We're definitely not getting Snow's full timeline of how he became the evil that he is. In fact, even in this book, you see kind of this morally gray on both sides of the aisle. However, I believe the intentions of Collins in this book was in part to humanize Snow a little bit and to help us to relate or to understand, some of his decision making. However, I did not. In fact, I see this as a common complaint when it comes to this book. Most people still didn't sympathize with this guy at all. And I was among those. Like, I never was like, oh, he's nice. I like him as a protagonist. And listen, you want to like your protagonists, at least a little bit. They can have some, like, convictions that are not your own. They can have some problems. They can make bad decisions. Most interesting protagonists do. However, Snow, there's just something rewired about him that is not fundamentally right, that causes this shift and this divide between me and the reader and who he is as a character. Which leads me to some of the things that I liked about the book. One of the things that I liked is that you get the Hunger Games in its infancy. That's always cool, right? We don't see the Hunger Games in its grand glory and spectacle that it is today. We see it only 10 times in, and so, man, it's bare bones. It's pretty much just in an old football arena, but it has a few features here and there, but it is not near as advanced as today. So that was cool. Another thing was just the point of view of the Hunger Games. So Collins was smart with the original 3 in that she didn't just rinse and repeat. In the first one, it's big focus on the Hunger Games. In the second one, we don't get to the Hunger Games until the near end or back portion of the book. And then in the third book, we don't even have, in Mockingjay, we don't even have the Hunger Games traditionally. And so here we get a different perspective. We're seeing from the outside, we're seeing from Snow's perspective. So he's watching the games and interacting, but he's not in the arena itself. So that was a cool thing. On top of that, kind of just a few of the world building elements, although there were not many and were not enough in my opinion. It was cool to see the capital and the relationship with the districts and the conversation of the war that was a lot more recent. All of those things transpiring, and it's just, again, we're seeing this stuff in its infancy. So seeing all of those decisions and what the Hunger Games would become, some of those decisions being made in this book of like, what if we entered this, or what if we, here's one that's very simple, what if we offered betting to the people of the capital, that they could bet on who they want to win, or who's going to win. So that was one of the elements that wouldn't be a spoiler, but different pieces of that coming into fruition or being talked about. Hey, that would be a good idea, let's try that. It was cool to see all of those pieces slowly coming together. But then there's a lot that I didn't really care for. Honestly, I'll say this. Part 1 and 2, I was more engaged than I thought that I would be. I had seen negative press about this book, and then I got in, I was like, you know what? I'm digging this kind of, but let's see where it goes. But when we got to part 3, that's kind of where it just took a nosedive and fell flat for me. We're out of the Hunger Games at this point, and it feels like just it feels like a long epilogue is really what it feels like. And I wasn't jiving with the story that was being told, in part because I didn't really sympathize with or care for Snow. And on top of that, the relationship between Snow and his mentor, as the mentor, and the mentee, the tribute, is just odd. And they try to do like a romantic thing with Snow and another individual in the story, and I never really felt that. And the connection again between Snow and his tribute, it just wasn't it. I always felt like something was off there, and it was with at least Snow's part, but I thought it would be with the tribute too. It's just a lot of weirdness there that I never really like bought into, which made that part 3 slower and just a portion that I didn't care about all the way until the end, when it was like just this abrupt stop, and it was like, what? There's no conclusion here. All in all, this is not a bad book. It is not a bad book. I kind of went into it not expecting it to be Hunger Games, which I think you've got to do. If you want to enjoy this book at all, do not go into this book thinking that it is going to be one of the 3 original Hunger Games books. It is not. It is a different story. But if you come in saying, I just want to read a good fantasy book, or sci-fi, excuse me, you're going to find some of that here. All in all, it's not a bad book. It's not a great book. It doesn't live up to the original trilogy, but it's a good book. It's an okay book. I ended up giving it 3.5 stars. I was even teetering at times on the 4, but then again, part 3 brought it down for me. Was some of the things that Collins does well in the original trilogy, you see it repeated here, but then just that, whatever that crisp newness and creativity of that was there in the original series wasn't fully here. And it's a beefy book. Thank you for watching this video. What did you think about the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes? Did it live up to your expectations? Did it die up to your expectations? Where did it fall on your spectrum? Did you not even read it? What did you think? Let me know in the comments down below. And as always, thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video, for clicking like, and if you haven't yet, click subscribe, join the Dragon Army, and we'll see you in the next video.